Canelo, you a bitch. I'm putting it out there. No, I don't like to disrespect men that step into the ring, but damn, you fighting Kirtland that hasn't been in the ring since Glenn Tapia. When you have an opportunity to fight Demetrius Andrade for the WBO, damn, I thought in the sport of boxing, people want to be a champion, to have that title. I understand you got De La Hoya, you got the promotion team, you got the money, you got the contract, I mean, you got the country, you got the country behind you, the fan base. But damn, you scared of getting into a fight. I thought you was the man. If I knew some Espanol, I'd hit you up with that too, but damn. Come on, man, stop playing. Like shit, man, all I want to do is fight, show people I'm the best in the world. I thank God for everything that comes my way, and every obstacle that comes my way, man, I know how to slip and slide in between, man. That's it.
Don't get this sucker no statue. Give him guts. I told you I wasn't going away. You got your shot. Now give me mine.
Why don't you get the hell out of here?
Get the fuck out of here, man. Please.
Shut up, old man. I ain't going nowhere. And why don't you tell all these nice folks why you've been ducking me? Politics, man. This country wants to keep me down. Keep everybody weak. But this bum been taking the easy matches, fighting other bums. I'm telling you and everybody here, I'll fight him anywhere, anytime, for nothing. Give me that same chance. The way you've been ducking is a disgrace. If he ain't no coward, why don't he fight me then?
I don't care what your rank. You don't get no shot, and I mean that.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? What do I always tell you on this channel? You can throw the truth in a jail cell, completely throw away the key, and that truth is going to find a way to break free. The truth always comes to light, guys. Now we're finding out that the pound-for-pound king of Europe, Canelo Alvarez, not only has he avoided Charlo and Andrade for over 6 years now, but now we find out the same man that is so desperate to unify all the belts at 168, he actually turned down a unification bout against Andrade at 160 for $40 million. $40 million, guys. Now, keep in mind, guys, it's really important to note, it was Canelo Alvarez who said that he wanted to unify all the belts at 160, which is coincidentally the exact same thing that Gennady Golovkin said, until they both ran into the problems of Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo invading the division. Now, before I continue, let me go ahead and play the clip of what Demetrius Andrade said out of his own mouth about this situation with Canelo. Check it out.
Offered Canelo $5 million more to fight me. Instead, he went up and fought Kovalev. So instead of that $35 million he was getting, they offered him $40 to fight Demetrius Andrade. And he was like, nah, I'm going to fight Kovalev.
You know, it's funny, guys, because you usually always hear someone trying to defend Canelo by saying, hey, you know, this is business and he's trying to make a lot of money, etc., etc., etc. And that theory, any type of excuse that you use to defend Canelo, it always blows up in their face because the truth remains undefeated. And what the truth just revealed is the European assassin, Canelo Alvarez, he took less money to fight an old faded European, Sergey Kovalev, instead of fighting a fresh undefeated champion in his own division to unify, to become undisputed. Canelo could have been exactly what he told people he wanted to be, which is undisputed at 160. And Canelo walked away from being undisputed at 160 and make less money in the process. You guys tell me how this makes any logical sense. You see, it's hard for Canelo Alvarez to say how Andrade is horrible, he's this and he's that, who has he fought? But yet, he's getting offered more money to fight Andrade than anybody else, except for Gennady Golovkin. In fact, this purse that they offered Canelo for the Andrade fight, it matches Canelo's highest purse that he's ever made, and that was against Golovkin in the rematch. So let me ask you Canelo fans, if you can answer this in your heart. If you were in Canelo Alvarez's shoes and you want to be undisputed at 160, all of a sudden you find out you will make almost more money than you've ever made for one fight to do something you already wanted to do, unify. and become undisputed? Would you turn down that fight against Andrade, by the way? Would you turn down that fight, make less money, and move on? Or would you fight him? If you truly want to be considered pound for pound the best fighter in the world, then you would fight him. You would fight Andrade, you would fight Charlo, you would fight the most dangerous opponents in your division. I mean, it's just ridiculous for Canelo Alvarez to say how Andrade is horrible, but yet he goes off, he fights Yildirim, he fights Rocky Fielding, he fights Amir Khan, he fights all of these guys, but then when it's a very, very dangerous opponent, he insults him. I mean, you would have gotten more respect, and I'm talking about Canelo. Canelo, he would have received more respect if he would have just said, you know what, this is a clever fighter, you know, he's tall, he's a southpaw, and he would be one of my most difficult challenges. I may have to wait before I fight someone like that. Believe it or not, people would have respected him more. But when you try to use talking points that you hear from fans on the streets or on the internet, oh, he was a bum, you don't have to fight him, he's a bum, etc., then you make yourself look worse, because now you have to explain why you have damn near about 40 opponents on your record that were horrible fighters. And in a lot of those fights, you didn't come close to making $40 million against those horrible fighters. I'm telling you guys right now, Canelo Alvarez is not doing anything that the Mexican greats did. They went after the best fighters out there, from Oscar De La Hoya to Julio Cesar Chavez to Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera. They constantly fought the best. Now, don't get me wrong, even they avoided some fighters, but if you compare it to what Canelo was doing, then it looks like they fought everyone, like they wanted all the smoke. Because it's not always if you duck someone, but who do you fight to make up for the duck, right? See, it would be different if Canelo Alvarez, if he ducked Demetrius Andrade to fight Charlo, right? If he ducked David Benavidez to fight Bivol, you know, or Beterbiev or something like that. That's a different situation. But Canelo Alvarez, he will vacate his middleweight title to avoid his mandatory Charlo just to fight Rocky Fielding, a guy who just got knocked out by Caleb Smith. Then he'll go ahead and fight Yildirim instead of fighting Andrade, Benavidez, or Charlo, a guy who was coming off of a loss and hadn't been in the ring for 2 years. You know, when other fighters were pound for pound like Andre Ward or Floyd Mayweather, when these guys were considered pound for pound, no matter who you pictured them going up against, you would favor them to win, right? Matter of fact, I remember after Floyd Mayweather beat Manny Pacquiao, of course, you know, when you're on a coincidental list, they want you to fight, move up to heavyweight. You had a lot of fans that were saying, oh, he should fight Golovkin, he should fight Golovkin. There was still a lot of boxing experts, like including Teddy Atlas, who said that I think Floyd Mayweather would beat the middleweight champion Gennady Golovkin, right? So my point is, when you're considered pound for pound, when you're like a really pound for pound fighter, a real pound for pound king, you could easily see Floyd Mayweather beating a lot of these guys. It doesn't guarantee he's going to win, but he's a favorite already going in. When it comes to Canelo versus Charlo, Canelo versus Andrade, Canelo versus David Benavidez, Canelo versus Bivol, Canelo versus Beterbiev, some of those fights you would say are 50-50. Some of those fights you would see Canelo Alvarez straight out losing. This is not the mark of a pound for pound fighter. I mean, just always remember this. The pound for pound title is a mythical title, right? It's extremely subjective. So that means if it's subjective, then it could really become a popularity list. And that's exactly what it is today. I mean, don't you guys find it kind of odd that before Lomachenko lost to Teofimo, the dispute was always Lomachenko or Terrence Crawford, who's pound for pound, right? Most people's list had either Lomachenko at 1 or Crawford at 1. But it was those two neck and neck. Nobody was ever talking about Canelo. then all of a sudden Lomachenko loses, and now you have almost the majority of old media saying that Canelo Alvarez is pound for pound without even mentioning Crawford's name anymore, we know what time it is. But it doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter because we've seen this in the past before. Once again, they did this with Roman Gonzalez. They did this with Nonito Donaire. They did this with Gennady Golovkin. They did it with Kovalev. And every time they try to throw someone at the number 1 or number 2 spot out of popularity, out of just favoritism, the majority of times, those guys are the first ones to lose out of the fighters that really deserve to be in that position. When it comes to Canelo Alvarez, he has an opportunity to really become pound for pound the best in the world, not just the best in Europe. But the only way he's going to do that is if he starts to gain the same type of confidence that his fans have. You know, because when you hear the fans talk, man, if Canelo had that kind of confidence, he would have fought Charlo and Andrade a long time ago, right? Why did Canelo fight Yildirim? Because he knew that was an easy fight. He knew that there was no chance Yildirim could win, right? Why did he fight Rocky Fielding? Because he knew that was a guaranteed win. So if you Canelo Alvarez fans didn't complain about the fact that Canelo was fighting against Yildirim, why would you complain about him fighting against Andrade? I mean, I see some of you guys in the comment section saying Mexico is number 1. Why wouldn't you want your countrymen to go out there and prove that Mexico is number 1 against all other countries? Why wouldn't you want that? We know why you wouldn't want it, because you don't have the confidence that Canelo will win for sure. Because we already know, if the roles were reversed, if we were talking about a Crawford or an Errol Spence, and they had some talented, undefeated Mexican fighters that had been calling them out for a long time, we know for a fact, not only would Errol Spence and Crawford jump on taking the fight, but Crawford's fans, Errol Spence fans, they would be demanding that fight. They would be pushing for the fight. They would be saying, man, I can't wait to see Spence versus this guy or Crawford versus this guy. There would be no one saying, oh man, I don't want to see that fight. That guy is horrible. He's easy. He's a bum, etc., etc. They wouldn't care because you got an undefeated good fighter who's calling out their guy. I mean, it's just like Virgil Ortiz, for example. Do you think any fans of Crawford or Errol Spence are going to be like, man, you don't need to fight that guy. He's a bum. He's this and he's that. Look at how he looked in his last fight. No, the fans are going to want to see Spence and Crawford fight a Virgil Ortiz, right? And that's how fans are supposed to be. If you truly believe your guy Canelo is the best, that's the type of confidence you're supposed to be showing. You're supposed to be pushing for the fight. You know, when Andrade invaded that press conference at Canelo's conference, I had a lot of fans in the comment section, Canelo fans, saying, yeah, I'm so happy that Canelo, he dissed him, etc., etc. But none of them were saying, man, this makes me really want the fight even more. Because if the roles were reversed, that's what we would be saying. How come you ain't got the same confidence? How come Canelo Alvarez doesn't have the same confidence? But Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford does? That's what you call someone who's pound for pound the best fighter in the world. You can't just be pound for pound because other people are saying you are. You have to truly believe it. Oh yeah, and before I end this video, I almost forgot to mention Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn, Eddie Hearn. Man, do you guys notice Eddie Hearn, he went out of his way to air out Jermall Charlo and saying, we sent him an offer, we did this, we did that. But do you guys ever notice Eddie Hearn, he knew about this $40 million that was offered to Canelo Alvarez. And keep in mind, Eddie Hearn is supposed to be Andrade's promoter. He says this when it comes to Jermall Charlo. But how come he wasn't this transparent when it came to Canelo Alvarez? And I've always wondered this because I knew it was just obvious. You clearly see Canelo has been avoiding Andrade. Golovkin has been avoiding Andrade. And yet Eddie Hearn, he has never come out and told the public the same thing that he told us about Jamal Charlo turning down a fight. He's never said this when it came to Golovkin. He's never said this when it came to Canelo Alvarez. I tell you guys all the time, man, a microphone and a camera is one of the most dangerous weapons in the world. And Eddie Hearn, he had the opportunity to use that microphone to put a lot more pressure on Canelo and Gennady Golovkin, but he didn't want to do it. He only wanted to do it when it came to Jamal Charlo. We know what time it is. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Hello, my name is Dominic. I just got my procedure done here at South Carolinas. I was recommended by Dante's Boxing Nation, and it's real. You know, here's the results. The brother out here, Brother Enoch, is real, and it's a very, very, very good recommendation. I recommend it. 4 hours, you in, you out, and it's the rest of your life.
So if anyone in the world wants this hookup, make sure you contact my man Enoch at 704-499-3471 and make sure to follow him on Instagram. Now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, then this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elo Deki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodeki.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram.
An important message from Youth Fountain Laboratory, makers of Vasoflux and Vasoflux for Men. If you're over the age of 35 and over the years you've eaten pizza, dairy foods, deli meats, or meats with fat, you are likely to have some degree of plaque buildup in your veins and arteries. This increases your risk of suffering a stroke or heart attack exponentially, and no one wants such a catastrophic event to occur. Introducing Blackout. Blackout is made of all natural ingredients proven to help dissolve clots in the blood, remove calcium deposits and plaque from the walls of veins and arteries, improve viscosity of the blood, improve elasticity of the veins and arteries, treat varicose veins, and prevent the reoccurrence of plaque buildup. For more information, visit Youth Fountain Laboratory at youthfountainlab.com or call 1-800-853-7856. And remember, to help unclog veins and arteries, get the Blackout.